April 26, 2025. Guys, you're looking at a computer representation of the solar wind of the sun, which creates the sun's magnetic field, guys, and the Earth's magnetic field. There's a connection. We know that. There's also another connection, and that's with the Earth's magnetic field and your magnetic field, as well as every other living creature on the planet. If not, they couldn't take an EKG on your heart or the brain test or anything else. They're measuring the electrical energy in your body. Tests have been proven that this energy field exists around you. Now, when you see this interaction, you got to realize that just steps it down one more time. Now, this is a representation of what that looks like. Notice that there's a couple different magnetic fields. Actually, there's one for every section of your body. Your heart has one, your brain has one, but this is close enough to give us an idea of what we're talking about. So you have all these electromagnetic fields coming from the sun, striking the earth, striking our body. Now, if those electromagnetic pulses are pure and unfiltered, they are healing. But if you start degrading them with interference, it is not healing anymore. It is detrimental to your health. CERN would be the largest one that we can think of. But guys, I have an EMF meter, and you can walk around your home and you can start picking up these electromagnetic fields from your refrigerator, from your speakers, from your computer, from your modem, everything. And I can even measure a small amount coming from my body with it, but I use it, and you've seen it in videos in the past showing the amount of radiation coming from your cell phone. I still have that. We sell them on our website, and it's called an EMF 380. Extremely good piece of gear. But anyway, so as you're, again, walking through your daily life, inside your vehicle especially, which is a metal shield, except it's shielding everything, trapping it in there with you. You have the more sophisticated the vehicle, more computers, touch screens, all of that. The more overhead air conditioning switches, you're surrounding yourself with a magnetic field that's blocking a good bit of the external magnetic field coming from the sun and through the solar system, through our planet, and into your body. Now, that could be very detrimental, and tests have been done that shows that if you ride over 45 minutes or more at a time, guys, it's very exhausting, not because of the duration of the trip or what you're going through, but the duration of the exposure to that magnetic field trap that you're in. If you guys that commute, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll get off work, say 3:30, 4, what time, every time it is, you'll feel pretty good. You drive an hour through traffic and you feel like crap. Your electromagnetic field has been messed with. Now you get on a much higher level, you're getting into a spiritual level. We're talking about Malachi chapter 4, right? When the sun spreads its healing wings. Now it's very important. And before I go any further, I'd like to go into Revelation for just a moment. You guys bear with me. This is Revelation 7. It says, "After these things, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth." In other words, the whole planet was covered, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. There's also solar winds, guys. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom he was granted to harm the earth and the sea, saying, "Do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads." And I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 of all the tribes and the children of Israel was sealed. That was not all. If you continue reading, millions and millions of more people were sealed too. Now, how do 4 angels covering the planet seal suddenly this the seal of God? And I think that has to do with the knowledge of what you're about, what's coming, the knowledge of our Father, the knowledge of your salvation. But how does that get to you? if something's blocking it. So when everything stopped on the earth, could be solar winds too, but the four angels stop everything. And when that happens, is it shutting down every electromechanical device on this planet, including CERN? So that there's a clear vision, a clear frequency coming in from our Father? And then, guys, after this happens, that's when you start seeing the other things start to happen. But right there is the ceiling point. How do you think they do it? I'd like to hear your comments. I think it has everything to do with the healing wings of the sun in Malachi chapter 4. And now here we are in Revelation, sealing the people with the seal of our Father, not the mark of the beast in your forehead, but the seal of our Father. And guys, we can't forget that other people around us have a magnetic field too. When you talk about negative or positive energy fields, think about that for a moment. And that will be actually a subject for a different video. Although we are digging very deep and getting into some pretty good rabbit holes that get so deep it's hard to dig out of sometimes. Really, it's because you keep finding information that's pertinent to the subject. Now, I pulled my meter out last night and just set it there, and I'll do a video on it and let it clear, and then I touched it with the top of my hand, and you could see the reaction in the meter. And again, that's how they do your EKGs and so forth. It says the human body generates electricity that flows through it. The human body also has its own magnetic fields. This is why you're hurting. This is why your ears are ringing. This is why they're trying to dumb down the humans, and really it affects everything on the planet with whether they know it or not, whether they know its side effects. You're talking about whales and birds that use magnetism as a guide, as a internal compass. It says the human heart produces an electric current that runs through the body and to every cell. This electric current in the body generates an electromagnetic field. Because the human body and every living organism on this planet is an electrical body, all made up of charged particles. That's what bombards us when we have a solar eruption. It's bombarding us all the time. It just gets a little worse sometimes. It says it is also a subject to the laws of electromagnetism. The body's bioelectromagnetic fields are very low in intensity, but can be measured using devices like an EMG or an MCG. And again, my EMF meter picks it up. Every function of the human body relies on some type of signal transmission. This is important. From the immune system to regeneration of cells, waste removal, healing, nerve function, immune function, to circulation and everything in between. And it all starts on the cellular level. Every cell innately knows its purpose and function and how to do it. That's structured in your DNA signals and imprint. In order for the body to function at all, these signal transmissions must be clear and strong enough so the message gets to where it needs to go and can be understood by the receiving end. In this case, us. And any interference, guys, between that could cause a lot of pain. And the changes that we're talking about, is that a battle between the lower frequencies and the higher frequencies trying to break that down? It says again, in order for the body to function, these transmissions must be clear and strong so the message gets to where it needs to go and can be understood by the receiving end. If there's any kind of interference in that electrical circuitry, the message won't make it, or isn't strong enough, or too strong to affect the intended cellular reaction. We're seeing it every day. We're being bombarded by it every day. What does that say? Well, we have to know that it's happening, first of all, then become aware of the things that really change it, extreme electromagnetism, and any interference. Remember, it's saying that the body's electromagnetic field is extremely weak. So is the Earth's. CERN's is 100,000 times more powerful. Think about that. because it's artificial. It has to be, and it's because it's not a balanced energy like our Father in heaven has, that allows him to use a minimal amount to get the job done in his perfection of creation, guys. Most of the body's electromagnetic activity occurs in the cell membrane. One function of the cell membrane is to open and close channels, are called membrane pumps, through which ions or electrolytes move in and out of the cell, delivering nutrients and removing waste. In other words, doing their job. Membrane channels open as the electrical charge or the potential of the cell membrane increases quickly. This change in charge, attracts ions, pulling them into the cell, and thereby increasing the action potential even more and causing other channels to open. The clearer the signals, the more intense the magnetic field, the natural magnetic field, the better your whole body works, including your nervous system. Once all the channels are open, the cell membrane's polarity flips, triggering the closure of the channels and bringing the cell membrane back to its resting potential. This is a continuing process and is the basis of life. Charge potentials play a huge role in cell communication, guys, and that communication is, we should call it clear cell communication. That's how important it is. It says this, since all membrane potentials are influenced by electrical charges, they are also influenced by magnetic fields. That's what we're talking about. Cell matter on every cell in every living body, including animals and plants, is comprised of charged particles, and that means that the electric and magnetic fields in the environment influence the movement of chemicals in the body, and they influence the interactions and exchanges of these chemical elements and molecules. In other words, the cells are talking back and forth. And because you have very good electrical circuit connections, they're moving very fast and powerful. But things can slow that down. And guys, you know that everyone's DNA on the planet is different. Everyone's fingerprints are different. It says all humans have a unique individual expression that is held within the DNA instruction sets. It says this is critical in setting the electromagnetic foundation structures for the unique design and attributes of the individual's DNA. This also generates the instruction set for the entire biological and energetic system through DNA, your whole body. It's wholly responsible for building the consciousness structure that holds the soul. Imagine that. Now, think about it. We all know and we've all thought about the soul and the body in different ways. We know it's different. Your body's one thing. When you die, your soul continues. Well, how do they connect? That's what it's talking about here. It's very scientific. It's natural, and it's a gift from our Father in heaven, but it's interesting to study it and understand it, and how what we're seeing with the sun increasing its effects right at the time CERN is increasing its effects, and other man-made biological events are happening. We're seeing all of this come forward, including the knowledge of it. Now, it's going from these DNA sets, this electrical magnetic impulses throughout your cell system, and it is essentially the entirety of the complex circuitry forming into what they call the layers of the central nervous system. They're multi-dimensional layers. And how are they interfering with us, guys? We're talking about the dumbing down of the frequencies, the slower frequencies, or they're interfering with the God frequencies, our natural frequencies that were put and stamped in the DNA that He created. And again, we've talked about the keys to everything are stamped into your DNA of creation and everything. But here's the key, I think, to connecting your body and your soul and our Father. And that's what they're attacking, guys. It says, therefore, it is the central nervous system or bioneurology which is required to function correctly in order to run the soul and higher spiritual frequencies of light and sound And that's how it works. The frequency is a sound, and light is measured in frequencies. Infrared, you can't even see it. Okay? Therefore, it is the central nervous system, or bioneurology, which is required to function correctly in order to run the soul and higher spiritual frequencies of light and sound throughout your brain, your nervous system, and body. Any interference, guys, think about that, is messing up this connection between the soul and your mind and your body. This functions as the multidimensional structure that interconnects conscious energy and biology. In other words, connecting your soul and your consciousness, your body. It builds the necessary energy structures for the light and sound bodies to link with all of the higher spiritual bodies. We're talking about your Father from within the physical form. While you're in your body, those communications are possible, but they're being constantly interfered with. So what does that mean? That means when people talk about getting out into nature, away from electromechanical devices, grounding, things like that, people that love to live in the country away from the big cities, and maybe don't even understand really why, other than the peaceful and the quietness and the privacy. But I've never did like being in a big city, but I can't imagine electromagnetic interference coming through every building, every automobile, every camera on the streets, every cell phone that's around you. Now, this is an interesting section here, and it has to do with at what point does your body or your mind, your electromagnetic field, start accepting the signals from our Father. And a lot of times it's in older people, at least not very young people, but it says activation of this starts with opening our heart and towards feelings and experiencing more loving kindness, compassion, and empathy for ourselves and others, which naturally occurs during the first stages of spiritual awakening. In other words, many of you are already have this happening. You've had it going on for a long time. Maybe some are just now starting to feel it. You're starting to feel this love, caring more about other people than just yourself, taking time out for not just people, but your pets and animals and other life forms, creatures of whatever life, putting them in your mind and helping. In other words, taking care of them, being more aware of their surroundings and their need for existence and a place to exist. Things like that. Things as you elevate your mind and your thought patterns, it starts to, guys, tune into that frequency that God's trying to talk to you with. In the meantime, the evil of man is doing everything it can to block it. And guys, with the times being what they are, this electrical incoming or magnetic incoming signal, it's a frequency, is starting to intensify. In reply, the man-made objects that slow it down, they know that. That's why you have machines built that deal with the technology we're talking about, going from infrared invisible and into visible light that we see, and sounds we don't hear that are either too low or too high for the human ear. But a lot of that is happening, and right now there's a battle that we can't see. Many have talked about it in the past as a spiritual battle. And this is about as spiritual as you can get. When our Father is cranking up the signals, man is cranking up the blocking signal, and this battle has begun. And since we're talking about DNA, guys, we're talking about genes. Saying these genetic distortions in the personal DNA code must be cleared in order to generate the DNA signal handshake. And that's a very mild word for speaking and communicating with our Father. This DNA handshake, guys, when that happens, there's a DNA coding that passes between the two. Kind of like sealing in your forehead or in your mind is what that means. As in, it means that even if you look at in the original languages when it's talking about the mark of the beast, it's not a mark on your forehead or on your right hand. It's in your forehead, in your mind. It's what you believe. That's why those four angels sealed up the people on the planet just before the second coming with knowledge. They opened up that transmission line. Everything stood still, all four corners. For the ones that have not made it there yet, I don't think anybody completely makes it until you make it. But there are different levels of it. People waking up, being aware of what's going on. Just this study kind of puts another level onto it for some folks. Some people are much higher, are on much higher levels of study than this. But I'm trying to keep it as basic as possible and just letting you know that there's a battle, guys, to open clear channels. You've heard of clear channel communication? That's what we're talking about here. And so in the next videos, I mean, including a lot, and it's becoming kind of convoluted because subject matters sometimes intertwine, and when you intertwine them, they seem to wander off in a different direction until they intertwine back. All of that, though, is part of the puzzle, and all the pieces have to be there, right? So right now we've got the signal coming in, we got the signal being blocked, and we're going to have to figure out a way to get those clear channel communications operating again. Turn off when you have time to sit down, relax, and pray, and just clear your head. Make sure you do it away from devices, away from your modem, away from your speakers. And it's amazing, guys, when I walk around with my EMF meter, how much activity is going on around you. And so when you start dealing with the more smart things, the Ring phones, everything, all your appliances are tied into the internet and the AI. They just surrounding you in a cocoon to shield you from the message of our Father. We're going to get into that, guys. One of the other things of technical words have been changed to a more down-to-earth word or terminology is called sacred marriage. And it's just the opposite of the divorce that happened in the garden. And the sacred marriage, of course, is between us and our Father in heaven. Talking about the bride here. But this sacred marriage is built into our DNA. When it's activated, we will know exactly what to do. But guys, we're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.